they seem to just launch products and go, it would be so nice if we could sell the 7900 XT for $900. And they're like, yes, that would be great. Let's try it.
Yeah, on ray tracing stuff. So this is something we were talking about where Intel...
Tim, come over here. We're talking about no. Tim's going.
Change the editorial direction, quick! I don't know if it's a strategy or if it's just like the same fuck up repeatedly.
I think it's that.
But the singularity has formed and the Steves have collided. I'm joined by Steve from Hardware Unboxed. So first of all, thanks, Steve.
Thank you. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Did I do that right?
We did it right this time. And I'm gonna wait for that thing to pass.
We call them planes in Australia.
You have planes.
Planes. Well, that's what we call
Planes.
them. That's what we call them, yes. It's weird, I know.
Topic today, we have a video series that's been going on for years with Gordon Ma currently at PC World, and that video series is called Is Intel Actually Screwed? And you know, I was thinking about it, and it's just not fair to only talk about if Intel is actually screwed. We need to also talk about if AMD is actually screwed, and probably NVIDIA. So, Steve, first of all, congratulations. You're the Is AMD Actually Screwed co-host.
I'm happy to be here, happy to be the co-host for this new series. It's an exciting time.
Yeah, we look forward to the chaos in the comments. So the topic is going to be on GPUs. We know the CPU side, they're pretty strong right now. So I think the first question, just broadly, how do you feel about where AMD is for GPUs right now? Because they've got Intel to worry about, they've got NVIDIA to worry about. They're kind of getting pinched from the high end from NVIDIA. Intel's applying some pressure in the, we'll call it the modern low end. You know, what do you think? Is AMD screwed? Before that, this video is brought to you by Thermaltake and the Tower 300. The Tower 300 is a full-on showcase PC case built to present the computer straight on with its angled tempered glass windows or on a unique mounting stand to show off the build in new ways. The Tower 300 has a layout that positions the GPU fans against the mesh panel with ventilation on the opposite side for liquid coolers and CPUs. There's also an included two 140mm fans up top. The panels use a quick access toolless system to be quickly popped in and out for maintenance, and you can learn more at the link in the description below.
Well, my feelings, to sort of summarize them very quickly, is disappointed, I would say.
Sure.
That's RDNA 3. Like, may sound harsh, because it is quite a good architecture. It does work quite well. It is competitive, but I just think the way they've executed on it, what we've ultimately got, at least from a reviewer's perspective, like if we look at the day one reviews, has just been disappointing.
Yeah.
7900 XT comes to mind, $900. I think you and I had very similar opinions about that launch price. Just, I don't know, disappointing execution there. Not a bad product by any means. I think it got down to about $700 US at one point.
Now it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
You know, that's confusing to me though about AMD's strategy. I don't know if it's a strategy or if it's just like the same fuck up repeatedly.
I think it's that.
but it really feels like they launch something and then they panic and drop the price. Sometimes kind of fast. In the instance of the 7600 last year, they dropped the price so fast that it was actually one day before the review embargo lifted.
That's $30 off. Yeah. Yep.
And so it's like I guess I don't get it.
Well, there's a few things going on, right? Because there's the TSMC supply.
Yeah.
So, they're allocating to EPYC CPUs, server CPUs, where they make a lot more money. I think the cheapest one there for the mainstream parts is about $1,000, which is 700 XTX money, but I think it's 470 square millimeter
better margin
CCDs, so it's way better margins.
Probably
there.
higher yield.
So there's that juggling act there, which you can sort of say, okay, well they can't just sell cheap Radeon GPUs because they've got to work out that wafer allocation. But then on the other side of it, you end up getting to $700 anyway. So it wasn't like that wasn't a thing they couldn't do. Like they're not sitting here saying it has to be $900. Like we can't do it any cheaper than that because of wafer allocation, how it all works out. But they're doing the thing anyway. Like I think it was a month after launch, it was down about that price. So they might as well just start there.
Yeah, the 7900 XT drops super fast.
That's the execution side of things that's frustrating because they could have just done that. They would have got rave reviews. And I think the RDNA 3 rollout would have just been much better received and gone a whole lot better. So that's definitely, as can't remember exactly how you worded it, but a stuff up on their end. That they continue, the shit show they continue to do.
That's another way to phrase it. Yeah. So what about the high end, right? Like NVIDIA's got the 4090, it's their flagship. AMD's flagship is the 7900 XTX, but they, at least for this generation, and the rumors are, we'll see, the rumors are next generation, they're kind of backing off that super high-end direct head-to-head with NVIDIA's Halo product. Does AMD need a Halo product? So I guess if we look historically, right, like the 580, that for a period was kind of their highest end, at least for that family. And they had nothing at the $600 price range or whatever, except for whatever old might have been around. Whatever Fury was doing at the time. So do they need a 5090 equivalent?
I'm not firm on this one. I think they do. Because you need the whole lineup, and even now you say they've got the 7900 XTX, which is a competitive part and it's pretty well priced, but it is a performance tier below. So I think you do need that sort of Halo product that competes at the top end.
Think about the AI. There's so much AI that can go into that.
Yes, AI. Yes, you need the AI.
AI is, it's what we need.
I think if they had have just gone with the 7900 XTX, because you need all the X's, and then the AI at the end maybe.
I agree.
That would get them a tier up.
I think we should just replace the X's with AIs.
I don't know. Can you do that though? You need a lot of X's. I think that's been proven.
Well, if you partner with XFX, you still get the X's. Okay. I think it's actually plural. It's X.
That's true.
So you get the XFX 8900 AI TAI.
Yes, good point. Yeah. Yep, and then you can get an AI SSD, an AI memory stick, an AI power supply.
I saw an AI motherboard the other day.
I've seen. There's nothing I haven't seen. Maybe liquid cooler.
I saw an AI case.
Okay, we're getting close. So I think you can build a full AI branded PC. So maybe there's hope for AMD's Radeon division, but no, seriously, I think the answer is they do need a product stack that is at least RDNA 3. I think you do need to be relevant at most points in the market. The 57 parts like the 5700 XT did quite well. I mean, some perhaps driver issues aside, that product did manage to perform well, sort of to the mid-range, and then the lower-end offerings were probably a bit. But yeah, it's really tough to be relevant when you compete for half of a product stack.
Yeah. So what about on ray tracing stuff? So this is something we were talking about where Intel.
Tim, come over here. We're talking about no. Tim's going.
Change the editorial direction, quick. So for ray tracing, Intel has been really bizarrely competitive in some ways, at least compared to AMD. It's like Cyberpunk, to the best of my memory, last time we looked at it, I think kind of price for price, they were oddly enough okay at Cyberpunk RT as compared to AMD, that we reran all the tests to make sure it came back the same way. So it's architecturally they're doing something different that seems to benefit them. How important do we think that is? Because NVIDIA's been pushing RT forever, and I think you and I both for the longest time were like, raster is what we're going to keep focusing on, and you slowly add some RT. But is that something that should be, not from a consumer purchasing perspective, but from AMD's perspective, is that something they need to be worried about RT partnerships with NVIDIA and then Intel's competitive?
The RT performance every generation becomes more of a concern. So I think if what you're saying is we get a few more generations down the track, because my opinion right now is RT for an Arc A770. Personally, don't think it's super relevant, but what you're saying is technically true. It does it better if you're happy with very low FPS gaming at very low resolutions with probably other quality settings compromised.
But you can AI upscale it.
Sure, AI upscaling, get that in there. So some AI upscaling, you can do that. So I don't think it's a great concern now for AMD or the people buying the cards. We're focusing more on AMD here. But if we get a few more generations down the track and Intel's performance, gets further and further along and becomes more just from entry level to more mid-range and hopefully one day towards the high end, And if they are considerably better at ray tracing, which will be, well, a considerably more important feature by then yeah, that's definitely a huge problem for AMD. So they've got, well, AMD's always got their work cut out for them, especially the Radeon division, don't they? So yeah, another growing concern there for the Radeon group.
What do you think, if you have to boil it down in as reductive a way as possible, if we want to provide the least useful feedback for AMD, what do you think their biggest problem is on the GPU side?
Least useful.
Yeah, so the biggest picture, broadest stroke, least specific criticism.
So you want me to just be like, be better?
Yeah, let's just, kind of like how they talk to the press about we're good at this. Yeah, okay. What do they need to improve?
Everything. We want more performance, better prices, more features, better innovation, do all the things. Yeah.
I think that's the kind of feedback that they're missing. There's not enough people internally saying we should be better at everything.
Well, look, we've tried to give them sort of serious, honest, I dare say professional feedback.
For sure.
Of things like we talked about earlier, like work out a realistic price for a product. They seem to just launch products and go, it would be so nice if we could sell the 17900 XT for $900. And they're like, yes, that would be great. Let's try it.
Yeah, right.
And there's just like no one sort of go, I have some problems with that. That's going to not fly. It's not going to go well. They just seem to hope and send it.
Yeah.
Is that the impression you get?
That is the impression I get. One of the most common comments I've seen about AMD on the pricing front from just users in the comment section has been AMD can't win on the strategy of $50 cheaper than NVIDIA.
Yeah, and right? $50 is one of the better discounts.
Yeah. So do you think, is it sufficient if AMD fixes their pricing strategy, to re-enter the discussion more? Is it, I think on my side, so like the 7900 XT is a great example where a couple months ago when we revisited it, it was like $700 or something.
Yeah, which
in November was actually amazing. It was before the Super Series, and that was good. I don't know if we can expect them to launch at that kind of pricing or not, but do you think? Let's just pretend they could.
Yeah.
Right. If they could, is that enough to by a larger volume of people be actually considered?
I honestly think it's that simple. I really do. Because, again, if you and I had have reviewed the 1700 XT at launch for $700 and maybe drop, the XTX down closer to 900 and whatever makes sense, the rest of the way.
I think you called it a plane earlier.
Plane, yes. That's right, isn't it, Tim? Tim
plane?
Sort of, he's confused now. He's just shaking his head and, all right, I think he's agreeing now. So we'll wait for the plane to go past. What was I saying? Yes, so 7900 XT.
At the $700 at launch.
Well, I don't want to sort of talk ourselves up, but I think if it had launched at $700, and I'm not just talking about you and I in a bubble, but the whole tech press across the globe, I think the reviews would have been much more positive.
Yes,
we would have been recommending it. This is a great product. The RTX 4080 at $1,200 would have looked a bit foolish.
Yeah.
Get the 7800 XT. But that wasn't the messaging. The thumbnails, I think we were chucking it in a dumpster. And it had like $900, something like meh or lol or something. Like, it was bad.
Yeah. I don't remember what ours was, but it was also pretty critical.
Yeah.
I remember filming it in the rain in Taiwan. That's what I remember being.
This is like my mood.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe if they adjust the pricing, they can kind of get it back on track, so it's not just the $50 discount.
Tim and I always say it's the Ryzen strategy, right?
Yeah.
Because Ryzen was not competitive for a long time. Like, the gaming performance was almost borderline embarrassing at times. Productivity was always quite good, so that was a strong selling point, and power consumption was always reasonable. But you could sell them on the gaming performance because they were dirt cheap.
Yeah. Zen 1 had some hit and miss moments depending on the CPU.
Yep.
The 2000 series, from what I remember, I think that was 2700 was competing with at the best for Intel was the 8700K. I think a little after maybe. Yeah. Memory serves October or something.
Yep. Yeah. Gaming was still pretty rough on AMD there, but again, the pricing was crazy, so it was hard to. pass up, and a lot of people didn't, which is why they sold so well. And again, I think a 700 XT at launch, $700, it's still a sort of a disappointing price point for that particular product, but plenty of VRAM and all that sort of stuff.
Can they repeat a Ryzen moment for GPUs? Like there was a lot there. Like the chiplet strategy was big for Ryzen. Coupling it with enterprise, I think, to your point earlier, is huge because they're all basically the same silicon. So can that replay?
I mean, it could. I don't think it will, because there is, the enterprise stuff. Like, there's no point selling that silicon as a dirt cheap Radeon product when you can sell it for an expensive server CPU, and that's the whole industry right now, right? Like, NVIDIA's just worked out how to do that with GPUs to an extreme degree. So AMD wants in on that, and you shareholder pressure and all that sort of stuff. So there's no way they're letting them sell big, huge, dies for next to nothing. As much as I'd like that to happen, and I'm sure all the audience would as well.
I think so. Definitely supply seems like a big constraint for them. Chip supply. So it's gotten that crazy, and it's so dire now in the gaming GPU industry that maybe selling, and I don't want to put that out there as I'm encouraging this, but also I don't know if it would be the worst solution, is having the CPUs or the server stuff, the AI stuff on the latest node, and selling the gaming stuff. We're second-class citizens, let's just admit it now. Like, we just are, right? It's true.
It's come to that. So you mentioned the 580. That was sort of that situation, right? I think if people could get a reasonable GPU at a reasonable price, there's obviously going to be that period, which we're going through anyway, where there's just no improvement because the previous nodes don't compete with the current nodes.
Well, we're kind of seeing that with NVIDIA, where they are, at least from my observation, it feels like they're selling the last generation for longer, or the 30 series. Maybe it was just over purchasing, but like they've sold it so late into the life of the 40 series that I almost wonder if the strategy is going to be, let's take the last generation, make that the low end, and then maybe we just have some flagship 2 products.
It's a hard pill to swallow, but I've got no better solution to, obviously I don't want to be seen to be encouraging those sort of things, but also being realistic and understanding what's going on.
So to be clear, you're saying you're encouraging those sorts of things?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that.
I'm all for AI, bugger gaming.
Oh, AI is great.
I love AI.
It's my favorite. I personally, I love sitting, like the 2-hour keynotes where they just talk about AI.
I'm trying not to laugh the whole time while you do this, and I just
why would you laugh? This is very serious.
It's very serious.
It's my favorite. I love watching 2 hours of AI and night market discussion.
It would have been much more entertaining for our audience. We could have added you to the mix if we had have just live streamed Tim and I talking about it and throw you in there. That's a great comedy show.
I think that would have been great. Our biggest complaint was they didn't give us enough memes, but they also didn't give us enough information. So we're kind of stuck in the middle.
So we're making up our own the whole way through. It was a lot of fun.
So to try and answer the question, is AMD, parentheses, GPUs, are they actually screwed right now?
Yeah, I think so. I think the answer is yes. It's a tough one to answer because there's so much to it. But I guess not so much AMD GPUs, but the Radeon gaming GPUs. And it's sort of a similar thing with GeForce, right? Like, it must be frustrating being a GeForce employee. Like, you're employed to promote these products and get excited about them. That must be a pretty tough job right now because of that 2-letter.
Yes.
So
that which shan't be named.
But we should, no more. Stop
we've
it,
hit
Steve.
our quota. I think actually every time we say those 2 letters, I think a company gets its AI wins. Said it. All right. Okay, so that's gonna wrap it up. So obviously this is an extremely well thought out and serious discussion, and you should take everything we've said with the highest import and trust. But generally speaking, I think the answer here is we'll need to check back and see how they do with the next generation. But otherwise, in the short term, perhaps at least a little bit screwed, depending on what you're looking at. Is that enough qualifiers? Have I protected us from Reddit?
No, okay. I don't think that's possible, even with all of the AI.
Okay.
I said it.
All right, well, until the next Singularity Forums, thank you for joining me. And that'll be it. Check their channel, Hardware Unboxed, for a video I'm going to be joining them for. And that's it for this one.
See you guys.